They see that the elites who ruined their lives hate Trump. Corporate America hates Trump. Wall Street hates Trump. The career politicians hate Trump. The media hates Trump after they loved him and created him, and now hate him. Thank you, media. The enemy of my enemy. It's not a proud day for this country. How could it be a proud day when a man who was not elected by the people becomes president of the United States? How does that happen? Listen, the man is a malignant narcissist, all right? That's a dangerous combination to have a narcissist like that who's elected to public office, because he's only thinking about himself. He's only thinking, how does this affect me?
It was the moment America didn't know it was waiting for, when Michael Moore, the sharpest scalpel in political commentary, carved straight through Donald Trump's bloated mythology live on air. Not with vague critiques or tired talking points, but with a blistering autopsy of a man who has turned failure into performance art. And right on cue, Trump couldn't handle it. Moore didn't just confront the former president, he detonated every lie that's kept Trump afloat. This wasn't a takedown. It was a televised execution of ego, broadcast to a nation finally tired of pretending the emperor had clothes. When Moore spoke, he didn't just speak to the studio. He spoke to every American choking on Trump's decade-long smokescreen. And this time, the smoke cleared.
Trump's election is going to be the biggest fuck you ever recorded in human history. Fake news that he's one of the founders of in the Obama era.
So
he created the fake news of the
Barack Obama is not a citizen, and
he said that there was intelligence.
That's right. He was called by a reputable
reputable
source
that there was intelligence.
Right.
He himself was going to. He was hiring investigators.
Yes.
To support his fake news.
In fact,
he is the godfather of this decade's fake news.
This is
for him now to say fake news.
Moore didn't come with gloves. He came with fire. What followed was a merciless dissection of the Trump illusion, from the fake business genius who bankrupted casinos to the populist poser who flew in private jets while pretending to be one of us. For a man who thrives on fiction, Moore's truth was lethal. The scam of Trump the outsider, Trump the patriot, Trump the fighter, obliterated in minutes. But the most devastating moment? Moore mocked the one thing Trump can't live without: seriousness. When America laughs at you, you're done. And Trump knew it. You could almost hear the rage tweet drafts loading in his head as Moore's words turned Trump's legacy into national stand-up material. This wasn't just criticism, it was character claps.
Because when he starts to cause harm to our fellow Americans, people are going to rise up. They're not going to take this. They're not going to take it from a guy that did not get a majority of the votes of the people of this country. So, and his thin skin, too, could be his undoing. When whoever has the most points wins, right? Tottenham 2, Chelsea 1. Who won that game? I'm just asking you factually. Who won that game?
In that case, Tottenham.
Tottenham won. All right. Now, how odd would it be if you on the news that night said Chelsea won today with one goal and Tottenham got 2?
But what are you going to do about it?
This makes no sense.
The beauty of Moore's assault wasn't just the accuracy, but it was the timing. As Trump's latest scam was already unraveling, Moore poured gasoline on the wreckage. He didn't just list failures, he exposed the pattern, a life built entirely on con artistry and a base too hypnotized to notice. He reminded the country that this wasn't a one-off. This is who Trump has always been, the man who failed at selling stakes in America, who turned lawsuits into a lifestyle, who turned nationalism into merchandise. Moore's monologue wasn't just informative, it was historic. It broke the last seal holding Trump's myth together. What do you do when a man like Trump gets humiliated not by lawyers, not by opponents, but by laughter? You watch the unraveling in real time.
Donald Trump is a big believer in capitalism and free enterprise and the sort of thing that's driven us into the ground, this belief that you can just do whatever you want and it doesn't matter who gets hurt by it. And I don't really see him changing, but I think he knows he's been on TV, he's a performance artist. He knows what to say and he knows how to make this appeal.
You think it's BS?
I think it's, well, please, I don't use that kind of language. But yes, I think.
Next time.
Megan, come on, I know this is the flagship show of Fox News. I just want to go on the record.
Oh.
Well, we all know that.
I like the way you make me sound. Go on.
It is.
Moore did what no prosecutor, politician, or pundit has ever done so effectively. He turned Trump into a walking punchline. Every lie, every scandal, every insult, all came crashing down under the weight of one unavoidable truth. Donald Trump is not a strongman. He's a salesman, a pitchman, a desperate ex-reality star clinging to a brand that's rotting from within. The art of the deal was never a strategy. It was a costume. And when Moore pulled it off, what was left was a scared man who couldn't even sell credibility to his most devoted fan. That night, Trump wasn't exposed. He was deflated. And Moore didn't gloat. He grinned, because the most powerful thing you can do to a man built on fear is laugh. What made this evisceration so potent wasn't just Moore's delivery. It was America's reaction. The viral clips, the stunned silence, the roaring laughter, the realization spreading like wildfire. We've been sold a fantasy for years, and now the mask is finally cracking. Moore wasn't just speaking. He was channeling millions of exhausted Americans, sick of the grift, the noise, the delusion. Trump's base may scream fake news, but they're screaming into a void that's shrinking by the day. This wasn't just another Trump roast. It was a cultural tipping point. And the irony? The louder Trump yells, the more he proves Moore right. Because when your only defense is denial, you've already lost the fight.
These days, Donald Trump is very busy doing a whole bunch of other things that we're not paying attention to. Today, Donald Trump's EPA did something that will suffer from years from now that we don't even know right now. His Interior Department sold off land of ours to people that shouldn't have it. His Agricultural Department, I mean, just go down all the cabinet departments. Every day there is something going on, and we are very caught up in the large things that he's doing, threatening North Korea, refusing to acknowledge what happened this weekend, what really happened. And I just want to be the one to point out that take this horror moment that we're in and times it by 20, times it by 200. That's what's going on in every federal agency under his control every single day. I'm sorry to be the one to have to point that out.
Imagine this. A man who's convinced half the country he's a self-made titan, a billionaire warrior fighting the system, getting his entire identity vaporized in under 5 minutes on live TV. That's what Michael Moore did. He didn't argue policy. He ripped open the narrative. Moore reminded us that this isn't just about bad leadership. It's about a long con. Trump's grift didn't start in the White House. It started decades ago. Fake universities, failed airlines, unpaid workers, lawsuits stacked like casino chips. And now, the final con is unraveling. The truth? Trump never ran a country. He ran a performance, a bad one. And Moore didn't just call him out. He exposed the stage, the spotlight, and the makeup artist. Suddenly, the strongman didn't look so strong. He looked like a sweaty actor at the final curtain. And the audience? Oh, they saw it. Moore spoke directly to those left behind. Those who believed Trump was their Molotov cocktail, their revenge on the elites. But what Moore did was hand them a mirror, showing they weren't blowing up the system. They were funding a man who is the system. Billionaire, celebrity, tax cheat, the guy who stiffed his workers while selling you cheap red hats made overseas. Moore didn't insult Trump voters. He awakened them, and that's what scared Trump most. Not the insults, not the mockery, the awakening. Because if his followers realize they've been conned, the empire collapses overnight. Trump's only real power is illusion, and Moore, with surgical precision, shattered the illusion live, turning red-hot MAGA passion into cold, stunned silence.
Yes, right. But you and I know, because we've known Trump for how many umpteen years. I've been on shows with Trump back in the 90s. I mean, this is a guy who did support Planned Parenthood, who was for gay rights, who you know, yes, he was a big blowhard. He wanted his name on everything, but he also put the ice skating rink back in Central Park.
Right.
So you know, he's not what he's made himself out to be to these people who voted for him.
So then couldn't a guy like you get behind him?
No, his problem is going to be when he tries to walk back all the crazy stuff that he said. What's going to happen to all the people who voted for that crazy stuff?
You think they're going to abandon Trump?
I think Trump, I should say, I hope that we see the biggest landslide loss ever when whoever the Democratic nominee is beats Donald Trump.
You know what they're banking on? That even though he might lose some women, he might lose some Hispanics, he might lose some young people, some African-American vote, he's going to make it up with the white working class, with the very region he's now touring through, Appalachia and elsewhere, because he's appealing to them and because Hillary Clinton has made some mistakes already.
What makes Trump dangerous isn't just his lies. It's how many people need the lie to be true. Moore shattered that need. He walked viewers through Trump's career like a museum of disaster. The casino king who couldn't win. The businessman who failed at selling steaks in America. The politician who divided a country to build a brand. It was a catalog of failure dressed up as success. But the most brutal moment? When Moore showed that Trump's greatest fear wasn't prison or impeachment, it was irrelevance. And right there, on national TV, Moore made him irrelevant. Not with policy talk, with mockery, timing, and raw truth. The only thing worse than being hated when you're Trump is being forgotten. And that's exactly where Moore left him. A fading punchline in a country desperate to move on.
None of what he said was true, but that didn't matter. He knew how to communicate to the American public. He knew how to tell them what they wanted to hear. He went all over Wisconsin the last week saying, I'm going to make you all rich. I'm going to make you all rich. You're going to make you all rich. Well, geez, who wouldn't like to hear that, right? Right? Ma'am, how do I look tonight? How do I look? What would you say? Amazing. Thank you. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it really made me feel good. And that's how he worked, right? He knew how to do it because he was a TV star. He was already a beloved American TV star. Do you realize in the first year, I'm talking about The Apprentice, by the way, the looks on your face, you know. He was the host of a show called The Apprentice. How many people in here watched The Apprentice every week when Donald Trump was on? Can I see a show of 1, 2, 3, 4 in the balcony? Oh my God. You realize that his first year on the air, on some of those shows, that first season, he had over 40 million viewers. Last week on TV, the largest rated show was America's Got Talent. Not ironically titled, by the way, it's a real show. It had 13.1 million viewers. He had 40 million people watching this. And I realized, I guess this isn't that crowd. But I want to tell you, in between the Hudson River and La Cienega Boulevard, there are a lot of people that loved him because he knew how to keep it simple, stupid, right?
Trump's empire is a castle built on sand, and Moore brought the tide. Every piece of the Trump brand, tough guy, deal maker, nationalist hero, crumbled under Moore's precision strikes. He exposed the absurdity of a man who sells gold sneakers to broke fans while pretending to be their savior. And in doing so, Moore didn't just ridicule Trump, he ridiculed the story Trump sells. Because if you peel back the branding, what do you get? A man selling fake wealth, fake patriotism, and fake power to people who deserve real leadership. Moore's brilliance wasn't just in what he said. It was in how easily he said it. Trump's mythology didn't go down in flames. It folded like wet paper. 1 minute of Moore did what hours of legal hearings and debates couldn't. It made Trump look small, very small. And then came the real blow. Moore made America laugh. Not at policy or party lines, but at Trump himself. And nothing destroys a narcissist faster than laughter. The moment you become a joke, you stop being a threat. Moore reduced Trump from strongman to clown, from leader to late-night punchline. And once that switch flips, it's almost impossible to flip back. You can see it now. Trump scrambling for control, unleashing rage posts, blaming everyone from the DOJ to the ghost of George Washington. But it's too late. The audience is already laughing. And Moore? He isn't just a commentator, he's the man who shattered the fourth wall of Trumpism. He exposed the act, and now Trump is flailing in real time, like a magician who just realized the crowd finally. It's almost poetic. Trump, the self-declared master of dominance, now dominated by a filmmaker with a baseball cap and a mic. Moore's takedown didn't just land, it detonated. Because Moore wasn't fighting Trump with facts alone. He weaponized ridicule. And ridicule, Unlike legal arguments or news reports, sticks. You forget headlines, but you remember the sound of a studio audience gasping at the truth. And you definitely remember the moment a strong man gets reduced to a sweaty, desperate caricature. That's what Moore gave us, a moment. One that made it impossible to look at Trump the same way again. It didn't end his career. It ended the illusion. And for Trump, who relies entirely on illusion, that's a fate worse than any court ruling. He wasn't just exposed, he was erased. This moment could come, the day the con runs out of runway. But he never expected it to come like this. Not from indictments, not from enemies in Congress, but from the very thing he can't weaponize: laughter. Moore turned the Trump brand into a late-night infomercial for failure. The business genius who turned casinos into ghost towns. The patriot who dodged drafts, insulted veterans, and golfed through crises. The billionaire whose businesses bled money like a faucet. This isn't politics anymore. This is reputational collapse in 4K. And the kicker? Moore didn't have to shout. He just laid out the facts and let the absurdity of Trump's life implode under its own weight. The crowd saw it, the country saw it, and Trump felt it.
Do you believe there is a chance that Trump could be convicted by the Senate? And we will take care of it.
Weirdly enough, I am that kind of optimist that believes that of the 53 Republicans, Trump can keep the majority, 33 of them in support of him. I believe that there are 20 Republicans who could possibly vote to remove him. That could happen. There's a sliver of a chance if the John Bolton testimony shows people what else is there besides the Ukrainian phone call.
And we don't know if he'll be allowed to testify.
You could see it in the shift, the stunned expressions on Trump's die-hard defenders, the deafening silence from right-wing media that didn't quite know how to spin it. Moore didn't just roast Trump. He changed the tone. Because once mockery enters the mainstream, power begins to decay. A dictator can survive protest, but he can't survive punchlines. Moore gave America permission to stop fearing Trump and start laughing at him. And when you become the joke, every tantrum, every tweet, every claim of witch hunt only makes you more pathetic. That's why Trump is spiraling, not because of court dates, not because of scandals, but because people are tuning out. You can't grift a crowd that's already walking out the door, and Moore held that door wide open.
Donald Trump came to the Detroit Economic Club and stood there in front of the Ford Motor executives and said, if you close these factories as you're planning to do in Detroit and build them in Mexico, I'm going to put a 35% tariff on those cars when you send them back, and nobody's going to buy them. It was an amazing thing to see. No politician, Republican or Democrat, had ever said anything like that to these executives. And it was music to the ears of people in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, the Brexit states.
Here's the part Trump will never understand. Fear might control people, but laughter frees them. And that's what Moore delivered. A national unshackling from the mythology of Trump. Because the terrifying truth for a narcissist isn't losing elections or even going to jail. It's being irrelevant. It's being mocked. And Moore didn't just mock, he annihilated. He didn't debate Trumpism. He deflated it, made it look silly, made it look tired. And now, Trump's entire act is collapsing like a sideshow that stayed too long at the circus. Every court case, every indictment, every desperate rally now echoes with Moore's voice in the background, reminding the world, this guy, this is who you were afraid of? The spell is broken, and Trump has nothing left to sell. So now here we are, watching the final act of America's loudest illusionist. The rallies are smaller, the outrage is stale, the lies are on repeat. And worst of all, for Trump, the audience is no longer buying it. Michael Moore didn't just end a chapter. He lit the match that could burn the whole damn book. Because when the people laugh, the myth crumbles. And when the myth crumbles, the man behind it stands exposed. Weak, desperate, and absurd. Trump isn't being taken down by force. He's being swallowed by reality. A reality he can't outrun. No more slogans, no more smoke. Just a man, alone on stage, out of lines, and out of time. This isn't a comeback. This is collapse. And America is watching with popcorn in hand.